Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, it was a tough weekend in Saratoga, to be sure, with New York Thunder and Nobel going down. And I was right at the finish line for New York Thunder, and that was awful tough to take. But life does go on, and we have to move on forward. It's part of horse racing, sadly. But there's also some good things to look forward to, too, as there always are. And one of them is the stakes race on the Wednesday card. It's the P.G. Johnson. It's on the turf for 3-year-olds, and it's a pretty good field. So let's take a look at it. Okay, the P.G. Johnson Stakes is ungraded, and it's for 2-year-old fillies, and it's run on the inner turf at a mile and a 16th, and it's the 9th race on the Wednesday card. So if we take a look at the field, number 1 is Magic Cross, and this one ran pretty well in the debut. I don't know how much she beat, but she drew off pretty impressively, so you definitely saw some talent there. That was on dirt. The next one, the Adirondack, didn't run a bad race. It was kind of I ran into a buzzsaw with Brightwork. Nobody was going to beat her that day. Had a little trouble early on, and it was up near the pace and took back. It was kind of a funky ride from Jose Lascano. So it was, I think this one's a little better than that. By good magic, he's 8% first-time turf, and the dam was 1 for 3 on the turf. So that the surface switch shouldn't be a problem. Bill Mott's solid with 2-year-olds, and they've been firing the entire meet. So I'm not sure that this one has enough to take this one down. There's some pretty good competition here, but I think this one's a good bet to be in the mix and likely under. Number 2 is Gala Brand, another Bill Mott charge, and this one got a really nice ride from Jose Lascano to validate him a little bit in my eyes. Closed like a freight train. Really kind of came out of nowhere, but once she kicked it in, saved ground, and then just blew the field away. Again, I'm not sure how good a field that was, but certainly showed a lot of talent, and that was a really impressive burst. Doing it around 2 turns, different story altogether, but Bill Mott 16% with the first route, and he's 18% second time on the turf. So, I think it's logical to expect that this one will adapt to it pretty well. She is cross-entered in a Grade 3 on Thursday, so if this one stays, I would kind of upgrade a little bit. But I think this one's a possible win candidate, and you definitely want to keep in the mix. Number 3 is Madam Mischief, and this one's been kind of a slow to get going. It's impressive that this one, stretching out for the first time, was able to win. So the distance will probably be okay, being by into Mischief, orb underneath. That shouldn't be a problem. But didn't kind of had a ground-saving trip and was extremely workmanlike, I thought, in the stretch. Kind of a grinder. And I think the others have that push-button acceleration that'll probably make them more likely to be win candidates. I think this one can move forward off of that race, but I'm not sure this one has enough. So if you like her, 50-1's not a bad price, but I would think more under for the try of the Super than I would as a win candidate. Vigliolento comes out of a key race, and the top 2 horses in the last race both came out and won stakes races in their next starts with an 85 and an 80 buyer respectively. You can note that this one has been improving steadily as the distances are getting longer, so that's a good sign. Pedigree indicates 2 turns not going to be a problem. Only thing is, this one will really have to kind of step it up buyer-wise in order to be competitive here. Maybe can get underneath with another jump, but also note this one hasn't broke their maiden yet, so I'm going to pass on this one. Number 5 is Dancing Spirit. Adam Rice has been 2 for 2 at the meet, and it's an interesting thing about Adam Rice. What he likes to do is bring them to Saratoga, run them in a maiden, and then sell them afterwards. So why is that important? Well, number 1, the thing is this one obviously was geared up to run in this race because he had an ulterior motive for it. Now, can this one move forward? Certainly. This one showed some talent, to be sure, and has already won at the distance, so that's obviously a plus. But whether or not this one can take another jump to win it, I'm not overly certain. I kind of like others a little bit better, but I think this one can be underneath. One of the other things to note is that social inclusion isn't necessarily a two-turn sire. So when you get the longer the distances, maybe that becomes a liability when the fields get tougher, especially as well. So Dancing Spirit, I think, could be underneath in this race. Don't really like to be on top. Kinane was, the first time I saw this horse live was at Royal Ascot in the Queen Mary. And, she did finish 10th, but note that there were 26 horses in that field, and that it's really a tough ask to win for any two-year-old in those 5 furlong races. And George Weaver's Crimson Advocate won one for the Americans, and you see Relief Rally came back to win next. So obviously it was a pretty good field. Didn't do bad. I remember watching the maiden at Belmont prior to that race and not being overly impressed with the way she finished the race out. Now, you see she won by 2 3/4, but there was just something about it. I just didn't think it was quite as impressive as all that. Now, moving out to 2 turns by Omaha Beach with Arch on the bottom, this one should be fine. So I'm not going to... I think that this one can factor in the race. I'm just not overly sold, and I'm going to look elsewhere. I just don't know if this one will rebound. Other thing coming from Ascot, I don't know if this one will come back and be ready to go. You got a trainer, Tom Morley. He takes his time with his 2-year-olds, doesn't do terribly well with them. So I don't know that we have the resume here that indicates this one will factor. Probably be up near the pace. Number 7, Brockardini, kind of came out of nowhere and was one of the first to really get George Weaver's ball rolling, and he has just been red hot since. This one was extremely impressive. Around 2 turns for the first time in debut, closed extremely well, and that was a key race. Bernie Takes Charge came back, didn't really beat a lot, but the fact is that this horse showed a lot, and I think was awful impressive. And I think is certainly a win candidate here. May have a little bit of pace to run to, and I think is looking good for this one. And you got our ride staying with him, with her. So I think those are all good things. Only thing you got to worry about is George Weaver is 6% with the second route, so it's not necessarily the greatest of angles for him. But I think this one showed a lot of talent, and I would definitely use. Number 8, She Feels Pretty. Cherie DeVoe. Not doing okay at Saratoga, but everywhere else she's having a really nice year. And this one really didn't beat a whole lot at Ellis Park last time. And it was a key race, and you did have 3 next out winners, but none of them lit the world on fire. The buyers were 64, 53, and 34, respectively. And they won at Mountaineer. One of them won at Mountaineer, and one of them... another one won at Ellis. So those aren't great tracks. However, sprint to route, Cherie DeVoe is 26%. So that is a really good angle. I'm just not sure about this one stepping up to this class in the second start following that win. I just have a little bit of reservations. You are getting 6-1. I think that might be a bit of an underlay in this field. And you're not going to have Tyler Gaffalione, I don't think. Because I don't know if he's back on his mounts or not, to be honest. But after Saturday, I think he might be taking some time. So we'll just have to see about that. But I'm looking elsewhere in this race. Take Me to the Beach will likely be the pace, I would guess. One on the front end on synthetic, which is always impressive to do. But you see, only got a 57 buyer. It is positive that the next second, third place finishers both came back to win. Dancing Spirit, in particular, looked really strong around 2 turns. So I think that this one definitely has some talent. Take Charge Indy is 9%, first-time turf. And the dam has no turf record. This may be just an effort to get this one into a race. The trainer, Matthew Kintz, is 0% with 2-year-olds, so he may be getting his first one with a little precocity, and he doesn't have a positive record first-time turf either. So I think this one will be a pace presence. I think it'll be awful tough to wire this field, so I'm probably going to pass for that reason. Number 10 is Hard to Justify. This one had what I would consider to be an outstanding race. He had a Murphy's Law beginning. Everything that could go wrong did. Broke well. Then for some reason, Flavian Pratt took her back. And then she got caught in some traffic issues. There was a horse trying to make a move up on the rail. She had to check really hard. Yet, from that, showed a lot of pluck by re-rallying and staying in the race, willing to keep running, swung out 4 wide, and just got up in time. So it was a really excellent debut. Showed a lot of talent, I thought, and a lot of grit. So at 6-1 for Chad Brown, you don't see that too often on the turf. I don't know if it'll stay there, but I like this horse a lot based upon that effort. I think we'll certainly move forward from it. If this does go to the main track, which, for a stakes race for turf, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it might, particularly being on a Wednesday. Ms. Sense would be a logical win candidate. Todd Pletcher, Jose Ortiz, they connect not too often, but when they do it at 22%. Ms. Sense showed a lot of ability in the opener, in the debut at a 1-turn mile. That was a pretty good field. Butchu and Classy Mischief in particular are pretty nice horses. So I think this one would be a logical if it goes to the dirt. So here's what our top 5 looks like for the P.G. Johnson. Number 1, we're going to go with Hard to Justify. I thought that was a really impressive race given all the trouble that she had. She was able to re-rally, showed a lot of grit, and able to get up after that type of trip. You have to believe that there's definitely some talent there. And being a Chad Brown, you know that she's going to fire in the second start. So you're getting 6-1. It's also a square price. I think you certainly have to find value in races like these. And I think Hard to Justify offers you that. So she's my pick. Number 2 is Brockardini. Showed a big close late. Looked awful good in the debut. And I wouldn't talk anybody out of putting her on top. You're getting 9-2 on her, which is, again, excellent value. And one you should certainly have on all your tickets. Number 3, we're going to go with Dancing Spirit. The only question I have is, might have been geared up a little bit for that because of what Adam Rice likes to do, put him at Saratoga and then sell him. So I'm not sure about the start following up from that, and that's really my only reservation about her. I think she has talent. She showed it. Looked awful good in the debut, and I think you should put her in your tickets for underneath for me. Number 4 is Gala Brand. That was a sprint, but she showed a monster kick in the stretch, and you just can't overlook that. It's a Bill Mott charge. Going to a route first time, has the pedigree to do so. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Bill Mott's been firing with his 2-year-old, so I think it's logical to include Gala Brand in your mix. And then number 5, we're going to go with Magic Cross. Was a little disappointing in the Adirondack after a pretty good maiden, but did improve pretty dramatically buyer-wise. And now moving to turf, I think you might get another step forward from there. Not overly certain about it given the class of this field, but at 10-1, I think that's an outstanding value, and that's one you absolutely should consider. So that's the P.G. Johnson. I hope our analysis helps you with your wagering strategy as always, and we'll wish you the best of luck. If you do like content like this, go on over to rightatthewire.com. We've got full Saratoga coverage up until the conclusion of the meet this weekend. 2-year-old analysis every day, daily plays, as well as full card analysis on the weekends. So go on over there and take a look. If you do like the content you get here at the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. It does help to keep us going, and we do thank those of you who've signed on recently for your support. Happy to have you through the thoroughbred season. We'll continue on with our daily stakes plays as we go through Saratoga, and then we'll be starting up with the Belmont with the Fall Championship meet, and Keeneland as well. We'll start posting for there. The Pacific Classics this weekend, so we will definitely have a posting with regards to the Pacific Classic sequence, whatever it is. So you'll have that as well. So that's it from here. Plenty of content to look forward to, and I'll be talking to you in the very near future. And so until I do, be well.